Hey guys, what's going on? BMcG here. Today we're here to talk about Beta Ray Bill and if his signature ability is worth the investment of your signature stones. I recently took mine to SIG 200 on the live server, so I mirrored that on the content creator beta, and I wanted to do some testing and try to show you guys whether or not I think it's worth investing SIG stones into him. And the answer for most people is going to be kind of interesting. But I do think that he is worth it if you like the champion. That's the biggest thing nowadays that I suggest. If you like a champion, invest SIGs because it makes your favorite champion better, or a champion that you like better. But I do think that Beta Ray Bill's SIG overall is worth investing in. So I wanted to show off a different kind of loop here against a battleground size health pool that was completely ignoring the shocks that Beta Ray Bill has, that was solely focusing on pulverized damage, which is boosted by 40% when at SIG 200. And if you pair that with the Fury buff that he gets off the Special 1, the damage just becomes very, very solid when you pulverize armor ups. And I wanted to show you guys what the max potential of the pulverized damage is on your medium attacks, which is really high here. You guys are going to see how juicy it can get, and it's really hard to find a fight that allows you to actually showcase this damage. So I had to go against this Viv Vision here. She has like 880,000 health, and once we get 3 of our Fury buffs active, you guys are going to see that we're going to chip away almost 50,000 damage in red numbers on all of our medium attacks. Like it's honestly nuts. And yes, this could be faster if I was trying to detonate the shocks, but that's not the point of what I'm doing here. I just wanted to show you guys how strong this pulverized can get, and it's being amplified by his signature ability, which again, it's 40% extra burst. Like that's a lot. So we're looking at this and it's just under 50,000. So rough math tells me that it'd be like 34,000 without the burst or increase from the signature ability, which is just awesome in my opinion. And I wanted to show you guys one more scenario where we're focusing on the pulverized damage, just to show you guys that this is actually meaningful, because there are a lot of nodes nowadays that punish armor break, or there's armor break immunity, yet you're still expected to deal with armor ups. And Beta Ray Bill can pulverize the armor. It's not counted as an armor break, which is really cool, and it allows him to bypass certain champions who either reduce armor break potency or they're immune to armor break. In this scenario, I don't think they're immune to armor breaks. Actually, yeah, they have armor breaks on them right now from the node, but that paired with the pulverized is just, we're in full control here. And we're going to do the full normal Beta Ray Bill loop that you guys are used to, the heavy charge into Special 2. And yeah, right here we're just going to go in, charge our heavy attack, and then we let him hit us. If you guys noticed that, we took no damage, because at SIG 200, while you're unstoppable, you take no damage. Or you take 100% less damage, essentially, is how it's worded, because it needed to scale a certain way. But yeah, we're just going to detonate these shocks here, and that's it for Rocket. That was a really solid fight, and that's, the latest ACT content that we have, like 9.1.1, and he handled it perfectly. Next up, we've got Nebula here, and she's shock immune, so I wanted to showcase how his damage gets amplified with the signature ability against shock immunes with no armors, because you're kind of thinking, well, why am I using Beta Ray Bill in this scenario? And if you can get to your Special 3, meaning if the fight doesn't need to be over with in 40-50 seconds and it's okay to ramp up, Beta Ray Bill is going to be dealing some nasty damage. Right there, that's a really cool thing that you can do with his heavy attack, Unstoppable. It's not useful in this fight. It was more just like style points, just to stay aggressive and stuff, but there are scenarios where it does make sense to do this, and you guys will see that shortly. But right there, like, she dashed into us, the Unstoppable saved us, and we were able to get that last Intensify. The Intensify boosts all buffs from his kit, so the resonance is increased by the 5 Intensifies. So you guys are seeing that burst damage that we're dealing on every single hit that we're doing. You can pause that buff with your Special 2 if you heavy charge into the Special 2. And now we'll just go in heavy charge, get our 5 intensifies. She dashes in, we let her hit us, just to showcase again how useful that no damage being taken while unstoppable is. And then here I wanted to take some hits just so you guys can see how strong that this resonance gets, because I'm going to drop one special one here that's an extra fury buff. We'll get one more special one going, and that special one will be what closes out the fight. So just pay attention to the red numbers that are happening on the special one. It's honestly nuts. And if you notice that massive burst on the last hit, you're not alone, because Beta Ray Bill on his special one, he increases the potency of personal bursts of damage by 200%, just based on his base kit. And you're also slapping on an extra 40% from his signature ability. So it just makes that resonance buff so much stronger, and it allows him to work for shock immune characters or characters who don't have armor ups. So it just adds another level or another layer of fights that he can take. And here's his unstoppable coming into play, where we're able to punish Warlock's special one. Normally it's kind of tough to get in there after the last hit and get that dex, because right there his recovery time is kind of tough. Sometimes I don't even bother trying, but in that scenario we were able to get that grit buff and counter his special one while he was unstoppable, so we didn't have to really worry about the node here. And then now we could just play Beta Ray Bill normally, and we have the unstoppable, so we're fine. And I just want to bait one more special one just to show you guys how consistent this is, and then we're going to drop a special one here. I know that this is not going to detonate the shocks. I wanted to do one more special one with 2 fury, because that will get us a lot closer to detonating the shocks. I know we probably would have finished the fight out if we did 2 bursts of shock damage from the special ones, but it would have been a difference of like 5 seconds, so who cares. So yeah, that was just a showcase of how you can use the damage mitigation from the unstoppable on his heavy attack. Last up, we have 2 longer fights, so I'm not really going to cover too much of these. I'm not going to talk too much on them, but this is another showcase of how strong this resonance buff on the special 3 can be, because not only is it amplified by the wounded phases here when you break Serasti's corrupted armor, it also is boosted by your signature ability. So just keep that in mind as you're watching this fight. And then the last fight that we're going to showcase here that I'm not going to talk over, but you guys can hear me talking now, is Necropolis Nimrod. This guy is like the perfect showcase fight for Beta Ray Bill, because he plays into almost every single aspect of Nimrod's ability list there. He can counter the armor ups with his Pulverize. He counters the power drain when you launch a special attack during his Blitz protocol, because that allows him to gain a massive burst of power. And you could pretty much keep 3 Furies paused for the whole fight. You can keep your Grit buff paused for the whole fight, which is useful for countering the Unstoppable that Nimrod gets on the Special 2. And then you could also get that Resonance buff from the Special 3 and keep that pause the entire fight. And you could solo a Necropolis fight in like 3.5 minutes with Beta Ray Bill in the perfect scenario. It's just awesome to see. And yeah, I really love this champion. If you guys enjoy the champion and plan on using him, often and in more content, I do think his signature ability is worth it, because that Unstoppable allows you to just tank certain hits. So it really opens up the way you can play Beta Ray Bill, and you can play more aggressively. You can even play him as if he had a stun on his heavy charge when you chain it from a combo, so you could do medium, light, and then heavy. And if you just rip it, you're unstoppable. Who cares? What are they going to do? Hit you and you still hit them with your heavy attack? Like, there's some really cool stuff you can do with it. And I think it might actually be an RPG-esque in the future, because we just saw, I think his name is Arnim Zola. Don't know if you guys saw him, but he's rumored to be a top defender, and you need to knock him down frequently. And obviously the champions who can work very well have the heavy stunts, so Gladiator, Thanos, and champions who could parry non-contact, Angela, Proxima, Midnight. they can easily knock him down if they can parry him. But what if he's stun immune? Those champions no longer get those easy knockdowns or heavy attack knockdowns. So now you are left trying to figure out a way to knock this dude down with heavy attacks. He's gonna be interesting, but I think Beta Ray Bill might be a solid option if that's ever an ask. I know there's certain nodes in Alliance War where there's stun immunity, and Beta Ray Bill might be a solid counter to Arnim Zola, the new 5 out of 5 defender on those nodes. And Arnim Zola also is really tanky. He has that like Man-Thing ability where critical hits don't deal extra damage, I think is how it works. And he also has really high base armor. So the way to counter this guy is bursts of damage, red numbers. And guess who has a lot of that? Beta Ray Bill. So yeah, I really think this dude is going to be a solid investment going forward. I feel like a lot of people are kind of, you know, lukewarm on him when he first came out, because they're like, yeah, he's cool, he does all this cool damage, but where does it make sense to use him? And it kind of feels like we're finally seeing stuff where Beta Ray Bill can be used. He's also just a really great generalist nowadays. He's a great counter to Deathless Thanos because of the grit buff that he gets. It's really useful utility. Unstoppables kind of had a renaissance in the game where it was like this really strong defensive ability, and then it kind of like took the back seat, and now it's back at the forefront. And it's kind of cool to see that, you know, Beta Ray Bill is one of the top grit champions in the game. So yeah, that's pretty much it for me here. This fight is pretty much over with, so after this you guys are going to see that Nimrod fight that I talked about, and I am just going to let that fight do all the talking. It is a great showcase of how strong Beta Ray Bill is when you can use him in a perfect scenario. Right here I'm not fucking so great, but yeah. If you guys enjoyed this video, consider hitting like and subscribing if you are new. I will see you guys for the next video or stream. Peace out.